What's going on, everybody? ChromeOnRust here. We, of course, are going to be talking about some Diablo 3. Now, I don't have a ton to share about what happened in Season 9 because I'm here to tell you, this is probably about the 9th video that I've come out with talking about seasons, if not more. Or the 10th, I guess I should say, since we're like right in between. And, pretty much what happened in Season 8 and Season 7 for me. I didn't play a ton. I finished my journey system. I made sure I got all my portraits. This season, though, I was just at the very second to last page of the journey system. I thought I was on the very last one. I log in, I finish up what I think is the last page, and then I realize, that there's an entirely new page to accept, and then, I had a little bit more work ahead of me. Luckily, though, I was able to get everything finished in time because, I really haven't been rushing around playing a ton of Diablo. I have been a lot more focused, as I always keep saying in these videos. I feel like they're getting a little bit repetitive. I'm going to try to maybe mix a few things up here or there for the next couple of seasons. Hopefully there's just going to be a lot more content to talk about in the future, and it's not just going to be like, this is what happened in the past Chrome. So with that said, that's going to be pretty much it for Season 9, but looking forward to the future in Season 10, we do have some pretty cool things that are going to be coming. Pretty much quality of life changes. There are some things that I wish they did different, and I guess just kind of jumping right in here, I do want to talk about greater rifts. One huge complaint is that greater rifts are very, very variant, and by that I mean you have a ton of different mobs, a ton of different map layouts to choose from, and to get a good rift was very, very difficult because they're just, their chance to actually spawn was so low. And what that caused us to do was to force feed Greater Rift keys into the Rift Obelisk, or whatever they call it, to just pretty much, we're trying to play the lotto and hit the slot machine, find the right rift, and then hopefully be lucky enough to be, or good enough, whatever you want to say, to be able to then clear that rift. So what they've done is they've actually lowered the spawn rate of the bad maps, and then they have increased the spawn rate of the good maps. So that means we're going to be seeing a lot more wide open maps, the maps that are going to be the ones that are getting people the rank 1 leaderboard clears. I think this is a really good change. I think it was needed a long time ago. I thought the amount of variance in finding a good rift was very, very disappointing, and just not fun to grind it out that way. It's a lot more fun to say, hey, I plugged in 10 GR keys, a couple of them were good, than to say, hey, I plugged in 10 GR keys and absolutely none of them were even possible for me to clear, because I'm going for that really top tier spot. I'm trying to push my gear to its actual limitations, and finding the right rift is going to require you to be able to push your gear that far. You're going to need to be able to find that good rift. So that is a great change coming in 2.5. Got a couple other things written down here. The bonus act in these bounties. How do we even play this game? The bounties bonus act is gone. You can see that there's no more bonus around one of these acts, and what that's going to pretty much do is once you complete a full set of bounties, you're then going to get a bonus bag for completing all the different sets of bounties. So what this is going to mean that you're not going to have to turn in all acts in a particular order. Like, let's say the bonus act is 1, then it jumps to 3, then it jumps to 4, then 5. You're not going to have to follow it around to 1, 3, 4, and then 5. You're just going to be able to turn in and run the bounties in any order. You're not going to have to yell at people for turning in, anything like that. That is a great, great, great change. It's something that they probably should have done a while ago, but hindsight is, of course, always 2020, if not better. The Armory, pretty good change here. I wish it was a little bit different, I suppose, in that I could save these different character armory sets, and then I could go to a different character, like if I'm on Barb, we'll just call this Barb 1. This is DDoS babies. This is, I was pretty upset about all the DDoS, killing a lot of my friends, killed me, and I lost my Barbarian, and this one got called, of course, DDoS babies. But the Armory set, I wish I could, save an Armory set and then go to a different Barbarian and then like load up an Armory set from a separate Barbarian. I think that would be pretty nice. I do like, though, that every character is then going to be able to have 5 separate tabs for collecting your gear. Now, I guess I should talk about what the Armory is. I'm just kind of jumping into this assuming that you kind of already have an idea of what's going on. But what an Armory set is we'll say that I have this loadout right here of my Barbarian. I'm just going to be able to hit save. We'll just call it Armor Set 5. Why not? So there it is. It's saved and in place. I can go and view the details, and then this gear set is going to be saved in this armory, in the armory here. But the thing is, you're not going to be able to like store it in the armory. Like once I save it, it's not stored there. I am going to have to like go ahead and throw it in my stash, or then throw it down in my inventory wherever I want to save this gear. But then once I do hit equip, anything that I've taken off, make this a little bit more magical than taking off one item. It's just going to toss everything back on for me. So that is a really good change. There are other small little details that I'm not going to get into because this has been covered quite a bit by now. This is not necessarily a new patch. Well, it's new, right? But it's not like it's brand new. If you keep up on Diablo, you probably already heard about this. Now, the crafting storage, once again, just great quality of life change. Not going to go into too much detail about this, but you are no longer going to have to carry all these items in your inventory or store them in your stash. They're just going to be stored in this crafting materials tab. More quality of life. This sounds a lot like what I was saying in the previous season. Just quality of life changes coming out for the game. Quality of life changes coming out for the game. And then hopefully, all these quality of life changes, they do add up and pile up, and this game has become better. But hopefully by the time that the Necro Pack comes out, that's going to have a bunch of additional content to add to the end game to keep people around. More things like the challenge rifts that are going to be coming. Challenge rifts, I talked about it in the last video, but if you haven't heard about them, it's not in this patch, but it is going to be coming in a future patch. Let's say I run a GR100, that is the rank 1 clear. You're then going to be able to go back through. Not sure exactly how this is going to be able to work, but I would assume and I would hope that just anybody on the leaderboard, you're going to be able to choose their rift. You're going to be able to go at it and try to clear it at a faster, more efficient time than they did. Now, I do kind of hope that with challenge rifts, so what exactly challenge rifts are, let's say I do a rift, you're going to be able to do that same exact rift with my same exact Paragon points, with my same exact gear, just everything that I was using in that GR, you're going to be able to use my same gear in that GR. It's going to be a temporary thing. You're not going to be able to keep all the gear or anything, but during that point in time, you load up the GR, you're going to be using the same exact loadout, that I was using. And kind of makes me think that just in saying that now is one reason why they came out with the Armory. I feel like the two kind of tied together, like being able to save your items and then being able to save a character loadout. I feel like this is pretty much what they did, or they're going to be doing for the challenge rifts. They're going to have a loadout that's going to be saved. It's not going to be the same setup. Obviously, this is for us to be able to access and everything. We can go in and select our gear, but I think the two are kind of tied together. They needed a way to be able to save character loadouts for these challenge rifts. They threw in the Armory. It was a win-win for the community, or a win for the community, and it was a win for the developers as well, being able to kind of take care of two things with one little update. Obviously, more work into that. More work went into that. It's not like it was a little update or whatever. I shouldn't say that. And I do want to say, I don't want to get too sidetracked. I'm going to keep going down through this list. I was a little bit hard on in my last video. I talked about the event that they came up with, the Diablo 1. They're putting Diablo 1 in Diablo 3. Now, don't get me wrong, I was still really let down, but I was saying that it was a huge waste of development time, and I don't think it was a huge waste of development time. I didn't enjoy it. I think it was a waste of development time, personally, to most extents. It was semi-enjoyable. If time was infinite, no, I don't think it was a waste. Having little things like that in the game are going to be great, but in the end, that is not what Diablo 3 needed. And so I kept saying it was huge waste. It wasn't, it wasn't a huge waste of time. I feel like just their time spent could have been spent in better places. So we talked about the Armory, we talked about the crafting storage. We're going to save that one for last. Strong Arm Bracers, getting a little bit better. When monsters are actually knocked back, the damage bonus is going to start applying versus when the monster actually lands. So you're going to get a little bit of time duration there, as well as they did just overall increase the duration of Strong Arm Bracers. So that's really good. Strong Arm Bracers already very good for support classes. Now it's just going to be even better. Class set buffs pretty much all around. There's just a bunch of different class sets coming. I do believe there's like, dagger darts for the witch doctor. There's Innas for the monk. I'm not going to try to get into all the other ones. Satyrs, Rolands, Wizard's getting a nerf. Demon Hunter is getting a buff to the Shadows set. Did I forget anybody? Barbarian? Something's happened to the Barbarian. I believe it's, I don't know which set it is. It was either, it was one of the sets. I do believe we're getting a slight change for the Barb. Don't hold me to that, but I do believe. Now, the big thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is Primal Ancients, and I don't have a ton to share about it because there's not really a ton to say about it. Well, there kind of is, but without just rambling on. So Primal Ancients, what are they and what are they going to do for you? Primal Ancients are the exact same thing as a ancient legendary item. So ancient legendaries are the same thing as Primal Ancients, just the only difference is that Primal Ancients, as you see up here on the left, are just going to have perfect stats. 100% perfect. Now, initially, when they released Primal Ancients on the PTR, Primal Ancients were basically an ancient, like an ancient is to a legendary. So a Primal was just like an ancient. It was 30% better than Ancients. So Primals were 30% better than Ancients. Ancients were 30% better than Legendaries. I think I got that right. All right, let's just carry on here. So they did change it, and I feel it was pretty good. I think this is a better version of Primal Ancients. Them just saying, hey, RNG is a complete pain in the butt. Here's your chance at getting that perfect item that everyone has been looking for. So what does perfect item mean? It's going to roll with whatever primary stat that your character class is. In this case, this is the Barbarian, so they got a perfect strength roll. They got a perfect all resist roll %, and then they got a perfect freeze chance on hit, and then of course the increased duration of ignore pain by 6 seconds. That's also going to be like everything that this thing can roll is going to be at its max values. And then when you go over to the Enchantress, you can see this guy. This is not my belt, unfortunately. It would be pretty nice. It's a dope belt, but this guy, he probably got like, I don't know what he got on his belt, but he re-rolled for Vitality, and you can see that the Vitality that he re-rolled on there from the Enchantress was max stats once again. So I do kind of like this. I think it's decent. With their old iteration of how Ancients are, I don't know if it's much worth talking about, but I'm going to anyways because I thought it was kind of interesting. Because back in Vanilla, if you're an OG, we had level 60 items, 61 items, 62 items, and 63 items. So there's basically 4 different item levels that you could get. Max character stats, or max character was level 60 at the time. So you could equip a level 61, 62, or 63 item on that level 60 character. And basically the main difference between them all being is that level 60s were worse than 61s. Level 62s were better than 61s. Level 63s were better than 62s. I said that kind of weird, but I do think I said it right. So basically, it was the same thing as their iteration of yellows. Yellows are worse than legendaries. Legendaries are worse than ancients. Ancients are worse than primal ancients. Now, they did tone that down a bit, but I thought it was really funny. They thought that that was a horrible idea. The player base hated it. I feel like it was slightly a bad implementation of, how they did it, I guess. Back in the vanilla, it just didn't feel good. I feel like it's a little bit better now, but I don't think that it's necessarily right. And that's why I think that the ancient legendaries that they introduced in the actual live version, where it's just a perfectly rolled ancient legendary, and it's not an ancient legendary that's 30% better, I think it's a little bit better of an iteration. I don't think that we needed another level of legendaries in that way, but I do feel, now this isn't necessarily like something that I came up with. I watched this video, I don't know, about a month ago, and actually just watched it again recently because I wanted to, see if there was really anything else that I missed. It was El Kaiser's video. He talked about Primal Ancients and his thoughts about, some things coming in patch 2.5, and really he wasn't very happy with it. And I'm here to tell you that I wasn't very happy with it either. And so to see them, as I keep saying, do this and kind of tone it down a bit, I do feel is good. But his recommendations, I thought, were really on point for what Diablo 3 needed. So I'm going to leave a link in the description to his video because I don't want to talk about everything, but I do have to kind of talk about it a little bit so you kind of get a little bit of an idea of what I'm talking about. So what Kaiser's suggestions were is more along the lines of, we have our Raycore set here, and instead of, let's say we have 2 Primal Ancients, and those 2 Primal Ancients are part of the Raycore set. So instead of Furious Charge refunding a charge that is hit, or if it hits only one enemy, just change the bonuses of the actual sets around. So that way, the 2 set would be slightly different. And then if we go down and look at the 4 set, and they wouldn't have to actually change every set in this, because like if you were to change the 2 set on the Raycore's actual set bonuses, recharge a fun, or Furious Charge refunds a charge if it only hits one enemy. I think if you lowered that down to 0, it might be a little bit broken, but at the same time, this is a game about feeling really powerful. This is a game about feeling really strong. Yes, there are leaderboards, which is a main concern and why the classes need to be so in line with each other. If there was no leaderboards, class balance wouldn't be as strong of an issue, but since there is, it's kind of an issue. But let's say his suggestion for like the Furious Charge 4-piece, or the Raycore set 4-piece set bonus, was instead of dealing 300% increased damage, maybe just quadruple it to deal 1200% damage. So once you have those 4 Primal Ancients, you have a slight advantage over somebody who doesn't have those, obviously, 4 Primal Ancients in there, and you're being able to maybe create new builds, different things like that. Suggestions for gloves that he had is like, instead of crit chance getting up to 10%, maybe allow crit chance to get up to 12%. Maybe allow attack speed to get a little bit higher, so that way, like you have to have these 2 Primal Ancient pieces of gear to hit this certain break speed bonus or breaks point, so that way you can get the additional bonuses and, maybe potentially make a build viable that wasn't viable because you have these Primal Ancients in slot, where if you didn't, you wouldn't actually be able to run this build. So I do feel like I'm rambling just a little bit, maybe too much here. And his last suggestion basically was increase the duration of Ignore Pain to 7 seconds instead of 6 seconds. And he goes into more into the video. I'm just gonna pretty much drop it there. So if you want to check out his video, I would recommend doing that. But I thought he had some pretty good suggestions for Diablo 3. I've thought of that about other suggestions that he's had for the game in the past. I just think if you're looking for more Diablo 3 content and you don't know who Kaiser is and you're watching my videos, I'd find that a little bit surprising. But if you don't, like I said, link will be in the description to his video. I would recommend subscribing. He does come out with some pretty interesting stuff, in my opinion. He was one of the innovators. There was a run back in vanilla. This is kind of going back to the OG. There was a run in vanilla called the Kaiser route. And it was because this is the most efficient route that players had come up with up until that point. He was the first player to get Paragon 100, I do believe. Don't hold me. I'm pretty sure he was the first player to get Paragon 100, and he's always been really about efficiency, grinding out types of games like this. He was a huge fan of Diablo 2. I feel like I'm being an Kaiser fanboy right now, but I kind of am. I ain't gonna lie. I just kind of am. So for patch 2.5, that is pretty much all that I had to talk about. There are going to be some other small changes and everything that I was saying, set changes, more items. Shadow's Demon Hunter looking like it might be viable in 4 group like GR clears. If that's the case, maybe play a little bit more this season than I have in the past. I'm definitely going to be playing a Demon Hunter, no 2 doubts about that. And that's pretty much all I had for this video. I do want to thank you for coming, and whatever. Thanks for watching the video. That was awkward. Thanks for coming by, checking out the channel, and just going to pretty much leave you with that. I'm ChromeOnRust for Core Expert Gaming. More videos in the future. I'm out of here. Like, subscribe if you would, and of course, as always, have a great day.